Hi there, and welcome to Medicare Matters with Mackenzie, where we help you make smart, confident choices about Medicare and retirement planning. I'm Mackenzie Anderson, and today we're talking about a common question I hear all the time. If I'm still working at 65, do I have to sign up for Medicare? If you're approaching 65 and still covered by your employer's health plan, or maybe you're helping a spouse or parent navigate this, you'll want to stick around. In the next 10 or so minutes, I'll walk you through who needs to enroll, who can delay, what the penalties are, and how family coverage might affect your decision. Let's jump in. Do you have to sign up for Medicare at 65? The short answer is not always. If you're working at 65 and your employer has 20 or more employees and you're covered under their group health plan, you can delay enrolling in Medicare Parts A and B without penalty. Your employer plan is considered creditable coverage, which means that it's good enough to allow you to postpone Medicare. But, and here's the catch, if your company has fewer than 20 employees, Medicare becomes your primary insurance, even if you're still working. In that case, you should enroll in Medicare when you turn 65 to avoid gaps in coverage or potential penalties. So step one, ask your HR department how many employees your company has and whether your group coverage is creditable under Medicare rules. Now we're going to talk about should you stay on your employer plan or switch to Medicare. This is where it gets personal. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. Here are a few questions to help guide your decision. 1. How much are you paying for your employer plan each month just in premiums? What's your deductible? What are your copays? Does your plan include prescription drug coverage? Do you have access to preferred doctors or specialists? Compare that to Medicare. Part A is typically premium-free if you've worked at least 10 years. Part B has a standard monthly premium around $185 in 2025, but it could be more if you're a high earner. In many cases, people find Medicare costs less than their employer plan, but if your employer plan is solid, especially with low premiums and out-of-pocket costs, in many cases, people find Medicare costs less than their employer plan, but if your employer plan is solid, especially with low premiums and out-of-pocket costs, it might be worth sticking with it. So one tip, even if you delay Part B, most people choose to enroll in Part A at 65 because it's free, premium free. But be careful, once you enroll in Part A, you can't contribute to an HSA anymore. So if you're using a high deductible plan with an HSA, hold off on Medicare entirely until you're done contributing. Are there penalties for delaying Medicare? Yes, but only if you delay without creditable coverage. If you don't enroll in Part B when you're first eligible and don't have a qualifying employer plan, you could face a lifetime late enrollment penalty, 10% added to your monthly premium for every 12 months you delay. There's also a Part D penalty if you go more than 63 days without creditable drug coverage after your initial enrollment period, which is the 7-month window that you use when you are turning 65. So again, if your employer coverage is creditable, you're in the clear. Just make sure to get that in writing from your employer. It'll come in handy when you do sign up later. So what if your employer plan covers a spouse or dependents? This is an important wrinkle. Medicare is individual coverage. It's the beauty of it, but also it does tend to create some issues. It doesn't cover spouses or dependents. So if you're thinking about dropping your employer plan to go on Medicare, think about who else is relying on that insurance. If your spouse or your child is covered through your work plan, switching to Medicare could mean that they need to find a separate coverage, and that could be expensive. In that case, it might make sense to stay on your employer plan until your family situation changes or until your spouse becomes eligible for Medicare too. So let's recap. If you're still working at 65 and your employer has 20 or more employees, you don't have to enroll in Medicare right away. However, still check with HR to make sure that it is creditable. You can compare your employer plan to Medicare and decide what's best for you, your health, and your wallet. Just make sure that your current coverage is creditable so you avoid any late penalties. And don't forget about your spouse or dependents. Medicare only covers you, so keep them in mind before making the switch. As always, again, I recommend talking to your HR department and maybe even somebody who knows a lot about Medicare like me to get a personalized breakdown. So thanks so much for listening today. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe and share this episode with a loved one or friend who is nearing 65. Until next time, take care and stay informed. If you want to get in touch with me, you're welcome to call me or text me at 512-599 9527 or email me at mackenzie@premiermedicaresolutions.com. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Medicare Matters podcast with Mackenzie. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Please also leave a review, as that helps me reach more people that can benefit from this podcast content. If you have questions or topics that you want me to cover for a future episode, please email them to mackenzie@premiermedicaresolutions.com.